I begin in the name of the God, whose mercy is profound, whose kindness is forever. In this particular episode, I will try to answer two questions. One, why is it that atheism has become so immensely popular as an understanding of explaining our existence? And two, is belief in God a mere intellectual reality, or does it have moral implications as well? The first question, why is atheism becoming popular? Well, atheists or their supporters might say that it's because atheism is a very convincing understanding based on solid evidence, scientific explanation, etc. I've already mentioned in my last presentation that the fact of the matter is that we do need an answer to the question, who did it? Who created this world? Who created me? Who created my life? To say that it came about as a consequence of Big Bang and then later followed by a process of evolution is actually trying to avoid the question. This is not what I've asked. What I'm asking is, who created me? Who created this beautiful world? And you're saying that that's how it came about. So I hope you know that what I'm trying to say is that atheism is no answer to the question of life. Who created this life? It's at times difficult to imagine how intelligent people can feel comfortable with the answer of Big Bang theory and theory of evolution, unless probably they imagine that there was something within the process mechanism of the Big Bang and the process of evolution that on its own was taking decisions which ultimately led this world to become a place which is livable, to have a design, to enable humans, intelligent humans to come about. There was something within the whole process that enabled things to happen the way they appeared, the way they happened. That would actually mean ultimately that this whole process is in itself God. So the attributes of God that we understand to be a part of the explanation are the attributes that atheists have no choice but to believe that the process of Big Bang and evolution, these attributes were there embedded in the elements of that process, which honestly is a blind faith. It's an understanding which is problematic. But equally problematic is this question as to how such intelligent people as the atheists are, how could they believe in such an unconvincing explanation? And the answer is that it's basically a reaction to religion. Religion was not very long ago, a few centuries ago, was alongside monarchs, kings, dominating the lives of humans in the Western Europe. Talk about 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th centuries. Most part of Western Europe We didn't have United States of America emerging as a force power as yet. It was only Western Europe that was the center stage of phenomenon, which was actually the dominance of a force which was primarily comprised of two components: church and monarchs. The kings and monarchs were the ones who were running the affairs of their respective states, and church was providing these monarchs with moral, religious justification, authority for whatever they were doing. This alliance was very strong, and it would snub, discourage, condemn, persecute people who attempted to come up with ideas, views, theories that would apparently challenge the status quo. So there were many intelligent minds, philosophers, intellectuals, scientists, who were coming up with their respective ideas, bright ideas, different from the conventional wisdom, but they were strongly discouraged to the extent that in many cases persecution was taking place against people who were talking sense. A case in point is that of Galileo. In the 17th century, he presented his theory, which was based on very solid arguments, evidences that the Earth, the planet that we are living in, is not the center of the entire existence. Something which somehow was an understanding of the church. Therefore, Galileo's understanding was challenged, was strongly condemned, and he was forced to take his views back. This is just one example, but the instances are numerous. They run into hundreds and thousands. When ultimately, as a consequence of the revolution that took place, when different individuals in different parts of Western Europe were able to ultimately successfully challenge the existing system, Renaissance, scientific revolution, industrial revolution, democracy, enlightenment, they all emerged. There came into being a new world, the present world, the world of scientific enlightenment, the world of industrial revolution, the world of art, culture, the world of science and technology, the world of democracy, the world of freedom of expression, freedom of choice, etc. Indeed, it's a brilliant world. Everybody is enjoying the blessings that this new world has to offer. Now, people who have read history, who know how things evolved to become what we now have in the Western society, a new way of living, a new way of looking at life. This happened after centuries of sacrifices that were offered by a large number of intellectuals and philosophers and scientists, etc. So this present age civilization has a reaction embedded in the minds of many people. They don't want religion to play any role in the collective affairs of the society, which is what secularism is. And even if a person wants to be religious in her private capacity, it's his choice. The society won't stop such people from being religious at an individual level. But the more intelligent people have this very strong feeling that humanity has had enough of religion, and we know enough about the vices of religion for us to accept it, tolerate it anymore as a way of looking at life and sorting out the puzzle of life, the mystery of this existence. So, when religion was rejected by the intelligentsia of Western Europe, the most important pillar of religion, God, was also rejected. So, when there appeared an alternative to the understanding of God, it was warmly embraced. That's why atheism is popular. Not necessarily because the arguments are so convincing, unchallengeable, that we cannot believe in anything but atheism. The fact of the matter is, there is such strong reaction against religion because of the experiences past many centuries of the nightmare of the church monarch alliance that caused havoc with the freedom of thought, intellectual honesty, scientific inquiries, etc. What was done by the Roman Catholic Church along with the monarchs in the medieval European history is now being done in many cases by the Muslim extremists. Obviously, alongside Christianity, Islam is the other important dominant religion, a religion which is believed in and accepted by 22-23% of the world population. There are people amongst Muslims who are extremists in their approach. Some of those extremists have turned out to be terrorists who not just that they kill people, they also justify their killing in the name of religion, in the name of Islam. It's not just that they hate people, hate non-Muslims, at times fellow Muslims. They also go ahead to provide religious justifications for their hatred, for their ghastly acts of killing, etc. So let's not be surprised that there are a good large number of people in this world who are not particularly fond of religion. And when they're not fond of religion, let's not be surprised that they are not fond of God either. But let's look at this question. Is it that everybody must believe in God? Is it not that it's a personal matter? I mean, if somebody feels comfortable with the idea of God, let him live a life with his understanding. But let others lead their lives in accordance with their own ideologies. And the important thing should be that we should not live as good humans, good neighbors, good workers, good fellow employees, etc., helping out each other in times of difficulty, etc. Why should belief in God be so important as to be required to be acknowledged by everyone? My answer is that belief in God is not just an intellectual issue. It's not just a mathematical problem which needs to be sorted out. Obviously, in that case, it should have been an interest of some people, but not everyone. The fact of the matter is that God is a moral issue. Belief in Him or otherwise is a moral question. Somebody who believes in God is taking a moral position, and somebody who's not doing it, well, needs to explain because it's a moral issue. Why? You see, I am expected to be good to my parents if they are alive. Why? Because my parents were good to me when I was young. I was vulnerable, I was dependent, and they were the ones who made sacrifices, took pains to enable me to grow. Now when it's my turn for returning the favors that they had conferred upon me, I should be likewise good to them. If I am not good to them, I'm being immoral. It's a universally accepted principle. Life is brilliant. Life is beautiful. All that I possess is a part of what I have been given in this life. Is it given to me by God? If yes, then I must thank Him. If no, then I must be absolutely clear in my conscience that my God didn't do it. If atheists say that they have desperately looked for God and didn't find Him, despite their positive, aggressive search for Him, then I've got no objections to them. But they must satisfy their own conscience by asking themselves, have we done enough to find out whether there is a God or not? I just end this presentation by giving an example, a hypothetical example. It may turn out to be real in some case. Imagine that there's a young man who was born to a rich family, was going through the process of education in schools, junior school, higher school, and at some stage, his father, who was a good businessman, he was kidnapped and he disappeared. But because the family was well off, the young man continued with his education, went for higher education to some outstanding institutions, and let's say it's happening in Pakistan. He went abroad, got educated because the family was rich, because his father was a very good, successful businessman. He comes back to Pakistan, takes over the business and gets married, has kids, and is doing well. And all of a sudden he comes to learn about the fact, gets the information that his father is alive. This after 15, 16 years after he was kidnapped. What should be the response of the son? I don't care, I'm more interested in my business, or that I must find out as to whether this piece of information is correct or not. The son has no choice, if he is really a human being, to go for the second option, to look for his father, to see whether this piece of information is correct or not. If atheists are genuinely good human beings, then they should look for God quite as desperately, or even more, as the young man should look for his father, despite the fact that there is no guarantee that he is alive. There is no guarantee that the information that is still there is correct. But he still has to explore. Likewise, those who claim that they don't believe in God must explore sympathetically, desperately to find God. And if they still think that despite their best efforts, they haven't found Him, well, then they have an excuse. But is it possible? Is something that they should worry about.